Welcome, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Happy Webinar Wednesday. I'm Sam Zelafro, and I'm here with Lucas Alvarez, and today we're hosting April's AIGA Atlanta Insider. We're both on the in-house committee for the Atlanta chapter, and I currently work at Kimberly-Clark as a global brand design manager in our B2B sector. Lucas, do you want to do your intro?
Yeah, I'm Lucas Alvarez. I'm design director for G&A Institute. We're a sustainability consultant, helping companies understand what they can do better to be more sustainable.
Today, we have a great interview for you. We have William Treadwell, VP of Creative from Floor & Decor. They're headquartered in Atlanta, and in 2020 was named one of Fortune's 100 fastest growing companies, and recently was rated #1 flooring retailer. William's path to design started before he could even read. He remembers his father entertaining him playfully, acting out heroes from Marvel's comic books, and immediately William was hooked. He continued to develop a keen interest in visual storytelling. In the early 2000s, amidst the height of the dot-com boom, Williams' graphic design career took off in San Francisco, but soon after, following the crash, he tapped into his other passion for physical fitness and became a personal trainer. He was able to design fitness routines to ensure his clients felt informed, inspired, and supported to achieve their goals. He later took those soft skills and used that to start working for top retailers such as Levi's, Gap, Hanes, Home Depot, and Target. And then in 2012, Floor & Decor, a little-known specialty retailer with only about 24 stores, looked to William to help grow the brand. And today, with over 133 store locations, you can find William and his team fully focused on expanding the brand beyond the aisles and on the fast track to even more success. On a personal note, William enjoys living in Atlanta with his husband and 2 rescue French bulldogs. The couple recently redesigned their own modern home featured in Atlanta Journal in 2020, which you will see soon. His background is not a virtual one, it is real. And he shared that as an homage to his first experiences with visual storytelling. Their home even includes a dedicated space for some Marvel memorabilia to serve as a reminder that the story continues. So before we dig into the conversation with William, we want to take a second to thank our Atlanta AIGA in-house committee. We couldn't do it without a team. You know, we've got Courtney, Meg, and Matt, who newly joined our group, and then Lucas and I. And together, we have some exciting news to share with you today. You know, in the past, as we've hosted these webinars, we've published the videos to YouTube for folks to watch on demand, but now you can also listen to past webinars on Spotify. So check us out. You can search and listen to past webinars. We're hoping that that format will open it up to more listeners. And then also this month, we're kicking off a new quarterly programming series, our Insider Connect. Next month marks 1 year of bringing monthly Insider webinars to our design community, which is crazy to think about. But our Connect series is an extension of our webinars. So if the webinars are a great way to tune in and hear from brand and design leaders around Atlanta, our Connect series will give participants a way to interact with our leaders. So April 20th, it's a Tuesday night. We will invite back webinar guests from February and March, and then August last year. So Katie Daniels from TCM, Doug Sprinkle from Home Depot, and Jay Musselwhite from FleetCor. And Amy, our friend from TCG, who's up next, will join us as well from TCG. And participants will be broken into small groups. And similar to a speed dating format, we'll rotate between leaders to kind of foster that small group conversation. So if you're interested, I think Lucas is going to post a link to register. And the great news is that William will be joining our Quarterly Connect in June. So if his topic and his story interest you and you're seeking a way to connect with him in a more intimate setting, that'll be a great way to do that in June. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Amy so that she can share our monthly market minute.
Hi guys. It's April, time for the Market Minute. I'm Amy Megan with TCG, the creative group. So some awesome Atlanta-based news. Company called Service Master Brands. Not sure if you're familiar with them. They're actually used to be part of Terminix, so the big pest control organization. They've sort of split off. They're moving their entire corporate headquarters here to Atlanta pretty soon. So that's going to create a lot of great creative marketing and digital in-house jobs. So keep your eye on them if you are job searching. And then also in a previous Market Minute, we've touched on the fact that Google is definitely moving a big chunk of their business here to Atlanta, but they have since let it be known that they're investing $7 billion in this expansion, which is going to bring thousands of jobs to our market. Those will be in the creative and digital space primarily. And that is in addition to Airbnb and Microsoft. So we just continue busting at the seams. It's going to be a great driver for jobs and movement in our city, which is awesome. On a national level, I wanted to share with you this slide that may look familiar. If you've seen our 2021 salary guide, this is a page that's in that. It's a free resource to you. So if you'd like a copy, let me know. Why I wanted to re-highlight this is because we're really seeing the numbers on this slide coming to fruition right now. People are changing jobs and they're changing them quickly. Now that people feel as though maybe the pandemic is starting to settle down, the jobs numbers were just released. The BLS numbers came out today, and the national average unemployment rate for all jobs across the US is about 6% currently. It's much lower than that. In Atlanta, it's 4.5% as of today. And if we're looking at creative marketing and digital profiles, it's actually lower than that. It's about 3.5%. So why am I bringing this up? If you're a hiring manager, if you are in charge of people on your team, you may want to really be looking at retention and being very proactive with addressing any retention issues you may have coming down the pike, and not think, oh, so-and-so top performer is fine. You need to keep them happy. You need to address these things head on and have conversations with people about how you can keep the top performers on your team. People are changing jobs right, left, and center right now. I have a very real anecdote from a client of mine a couple of weeks ago, called me hair on fire. Their entire team has resigned or moved on within a month. So there was a 4-person creative team. 2 people resigned on the same day. 1 person was going out for a medical leave, and a 3rd person resigned like a week later. And they were hair on fire. Oh my gosh, we need people. This is a common story. We're really hearing this a lot right now. So I'm bringing this slide to your attention so that you can proactively address any potential retention issues. And if there are people on your team who are super crucial, let it be known to them. Do what you need to do to keep them. Be very proactive. Let me know if you'd like to talk more about retention strategies, because I can definitely help you with that. But we're seeing jobs movement. And on the next page, as you go into hiring, we're noticing through our research that the cost of a bad hire is even higher than it was in the past. So 64% of managers that we surveyed are saying that the negative impact of a maybe not great hire is even more severe than it was a year ago. So it's more time wasted, it's decreasing staff morale and productivity as a whole, and it's really increasing the stress on you as the supervisor. I mean, anyone who's in a hiring position who has probably at some point made a hiring decision that they weren't super happy with in the long run. And you may know then, through having managed through that it takes about 10 weeks on average to terminate a bad hire. So it's really important that you're getting the right people in the door. You're potentially, if it's an executional level role, I would always suggest looking at people on a contract to hire basis potentially, so you guys can both make sure it's a fit on both ends and that everyone's happy before you're essentially pulling the trigger, because it is very difficult, depending on your company's HR parameters, of being able to move someone out. And especially if you've hired them full time and maybe the design is not there or something, it's really important to ensure that you're hiring the right people. And then I would say that 6 weeks to restaff the position. So it's essentially taking 4 months or 16 weeks to move through a bad hire. Essentially, 6 weeks is a short time frame given the market conditions we're seeing right now. If you're working with a team like TCG Perm, for instance, I would say 6 weeks is definitely doable to fill a full-time role. But if you're trying to go it alone, it's taking much longer than that. Our clients are saying when they're not able to use any talent resources, a lot of times it's more like 3 to 4 months is sort of the average. So do you really have a whole quarter or longer to go without getting the right person in the seat? I'm sure that the answer is probably no. So with that, just good news all around in terms of the market. It's very positive. It's bustling. We're seeing tons of jobs. If you are looking for a role right now, I have to say you're sort of in the catbird seat. It's very much the market is on your side at this point. So if you have questions, if you want more info or the whole report for either the salary guide or this cost of a bad hire, don't hesitate to reach out. You can hit me up on LinkedIn or my email is on the next slide. So with that, I am super happy to turn it over to Sam.
Thanks, Amy. Awesome. Great. Nice headshot. Welcome, William.
Thank you. So good to be here.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you with us today. It's been fun getting to know you and preparing for this webinar because I knew a little bit about Floor & Decor before we met. I have a few friends that work there, but not in design. So why don't we start the interview with hearing a little bit more about the background of the company and kind of how the design organization is structured?
Sure. Did you want to start with the video and I can go into that, or would you like me
Sure.
to? Maybe let's start with the video, and I think that would help our audience to sort of see a little bit more about Floor & Decor and what we do.
Hey, Lucas, the sound isn't working for me.
So here's our visualizer. I can kind of walk us through it.
Let's try that one more time.
Sure. Sorry about that.
There you go.
All right, I hope everybody got a little dance in there with us, some happy music. But I felt like we should start with the video, honestly, as Floor & Decor gains awareness. We have several stores in Atlanta, so I feel like our Atlanta audience definitely knows more about us. But to answer your question, Floor & Decor, I started with Floor & Decor back in 2012, and there was one designer, and So I was the first creative director that they hired, and there were a lot of firsts with this young company, which was amazing. Having worked for companies like Levi's that was over 100 years old, you know, a lot of history, which was fantastic. But this new opportunity with Floor & Decor really just, I mean, it was an open runway of possibilities. And just to give you an idea, after seeing that video, when I started, I think our biggest channel was print. And I think we did about 90% print. And after you saw it today, print has really gone way down. But we were able to expand creative and our channels for advertising. And you've just opened up the floodgate, if you will, of, you know, breaking rules, seeing what breakthrough looks like, how can we best, you know, service our customers and our associates. So I mean, it really has grown exponentially in the last 8 years. I've not been with a company like this in my past and seen this much growth in such a short time. It's a really exciting time to be with Floor & Decor.
How has the team structure changed to kind of accommodate the growth that Floor & Decor has seen?
Yeah, so I mean, again, you know, starting with one designer, which she was a great designer. She was easy to work with. I mean, we're a team, but we're a family at Floor & Decor, and you know, having a people first culture, I think, has definitely an empowerment. You know, has helped as we've developed and grown our team. I mean, we hire the experts and trust the experts at what they're doing. I mean, what, hire people smarter than you? I mean, it works. Hire people smarter than you. But growth, I mean, you know, with a growing company, there's been pain points, you know, but we use TCG, even in, as you mentioned, my history in San Francisco, I used TCG and Artisan Creative and others to be able to have those opportunities to flex where we needed, or to bring somebody on that didn't know the company that well to be able to really break the canvas. You know, I don't want to be where we are today. We continue to look ahead. How do we continue to look ahead? So honestly, you know, more products, more categories, more designers. So you know, as the company grows, the department does grow, but we first look within. So if I could say anything about how we hire, Sam, if you were a store associate and you wanted to be a designer, you have the ability to do that. We do look for outside talent, but first we look within. And that's what I love about this company. Not many companies did that. As I mentioned, working with the creative group and placement agencies, it's awesome because I got to, you know, learn a broad range of skills, but at the same time, sometimes you were the intermediary, you weren't the person that they were looking to hire sometimes. And I didn't look at that as a negative experience. I looked at that as a positive experience because I have a broad range now of experience that I can share, I can execute, or that, I mean, my team teaches me things every day. Every day. I feel like the old fuddy-duddy. I'm like, how do you use TikTok? You know, I'm like, sorry guys, I'm not a TikTok user. I'm trying to learn it. But now our organization is scrappy, and we all challenge each other to think outside of our consideration set. So even though I'm a graphic designer, I've assisted with what the store exterior looks like, what paint colors there were. They let me interior design the bathrooms of our stores. I mean, you name it, I've gotten to do it. So yeah, I mean, again,
sounds like it's more about the brand experience, right?
It's about the brand experience. You know, we always want to enhance the customer experience, but we want to also provide the best brand experience. And bringing in a diverse group of people with a lot of diverse backgrounds has really helped to propel us to where we are today. I mean, with the marketing team and just the Floor & Decor in general, you know, my team doesn't do it. We don't do it by ourselves. Most of our best ideas come from the stores. our frontliners who are working with people like you or our other customers, you know, when they find an opportunity to say, you know what, we can make this better. I want to hear about it. I'm hungry for it. Tell me how we can help. So I think that's probably the biggest success for our company is collaboration and people first culture.
So that was one of the things that I wanted to talk a little bit about, was just how, because I'm always interested when we meet with design leaders from, across the city, like how design is positioned within the organization, and whether they're looked at as, executors of work or collaborators or problem solvers. And so you've already touched on this a little bit, because it sounds like you guys are out there and working with other functions and that you're trusted as experts, which is great because that doesn't always happen.
Right.
But can you talk a little bit more about the collaboration and what that looks like at Floor & Decor?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, we have design systems, if you will, that allow for collaboration. As I mentioned, a channel of communication from the actual store frontliners to the store support center, because we're supporting them.
Right.
So, but we have collaborative sessions, monthly sessions, competitive analysis that we conduct ourselves. No one is telling us to do this. No one is telling us to. Well, let me just say this: we're not waiting for anybody to say, "Hey, you need to fix that." If we see an opportunity, we're going to take it. If we see an opportunity to help you as a customer, it's not analysis by paralysis. It's
more proactive rather than reactive.
Yes, and I mean, some of it's reactive. If it's a great idea and it's worth the challenge, I mean, absolutely, we're going to do it. And then we'll have KPIs for measurement, of course, but collaboration is completely broad in our company. It's not singular channel at all. It really comes from everywhere. So I don't know if that will really answer your question. That's the best way I can answer, because I have worked for companies that, it's either you take direction or you're trying to pull collaboration from folks. And so I might take a job, not at Floor & Decor. I mean, we are so energized with ideas. Sometimes at the end of the day, I'm like, wow, I can't believe we got that much accomplished. And sometimes I'm like, what did we do today? We talked about so much. I know we did a lot of things. I just can't put my finger on it because there were a lot of great ideas or great projects. So never a boring moment.
Yeah.
And there's always an opportunity to learn. So we just have that collaborative, open discussion, mentality.
Right. Well, that's awesome. It sounds like a great place to work. And again, I think all the growth that you've, talked about since you joined in 2012 just sounds like endless opportunity, which is really exciting. I do want to pivot just a moment because you did talk a little bit about, bringing on team members who are smarter than you and have diverse, perspectives to kind of make the team stronger. And so I want to hear a little bit more about that. And, as a leader at the helm of the design organization, what do you do to make sure that you're bringing in, these people? Like, what does that look like?
I think, of course, talent is talent, no matter who it comes from. But I think, looking at people's type of background, I don't hold, for example, a print designer could be an email designer if they decide to, or they could go into video if they're interested in video. We don't isolate individuals. We really want to know, what do you see yourself doing in the next 5 years? How can I help you get there? But I think, as far as diversity, it's diversity as a broad term, but it's really looking at what type of experience someone's had. I like the fact that we've had people in somebody on our team that used to work for a television station, completely different than working for a hard surface retailer. Right. Someone like myself going from soft goods to having to learn the difference between laminate and hardwood and engineered was a challenge, but as you are immersed in it, and the support with the folks that we work with, the merchandising team, everybody in the organization. But I really feel that when you look at work history and you interview someone, I'm really looking for what's not on the paper.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for what's your range of interest. You know, do you have a design range? Are you, as a leader, I'm looking to teach and to be the student. I'm looking for that as well from others. And really, what can they provide the organization outside of just what they can do with design? I mean, again, really, it's how do you retain? How do you inspire? You know, I think it's really having an open, like I said, an open channel for communication. But, I wouldn't say I hire anybody for gender, race, it's not anything to do with that, but more what kind of new ideas, fresh concepts, different perspectives, how can we bring that together and orchestrate that to, the best work that we can put out.
Right.
There's a quick question I got from Amit over here. I think it falls in line with building out teams and finding specific skill sets. He was asking, have you been able to build out a UX team, the capabilities? And I think going to what you're saying, I don't know if you can answer if you built one out, or how would you build it out? If you connected, like someone in your team was like, hey, I could do UX. Is it like that? Or was it using something more like TCG?
Well, we do a little bit of both, actually. But if someone on my team is interested in it, of course, I want to see what the lift is for them to achieve that. They're always open to interview for the position. Again, we want to hire from within. Now, UX and UI sort of sits on a different team at Floor & Decor. But what I could speak to is we have folks that understand it, that understand how to work with a department of developers, that creates a more symbiosis between departments. I mean, we have that with the diverse talent pool, a way of being symbiotic with each of our partners and peers. But it's, again, through collaboration. But sorry, I can't answer that one directly.
I think that, it seems like there's two teams and you're working with the team inside of your company.
Right.
And not to derail too far, this question just fit right into Courtney asks about you're really collaborative. So how have you adapted to work from home this year? Working with UX team or working with your team?
Courtney, that is a great idea. Or excuse me, a great question. It was a challenge, but we, as creatives, I think this platform is already known to us. I don't think it was really strange for us to adapt to something like this, but I did bring on new creative during this time, and it was a challenge not to hire someone who has never set foot in our office per se. But the best thing about it, we have plenty of stores, and really that's truly my office, and that's truly our team's office, is being in that environment to know how to connect to the associates, to help them connect to the customer. But it took a lot of hours. It took a lot of personal hours. For example, when I hired our our marketing art director, great experience, but it's a challenge going from, again, he was part of fashion, and then to come into hard surface flooring, and not sitting in a room with your peers and partners to see the unspoken language or body language, or having that 10 minutes as you walk from that meeting room to the office to talk about some things relative to the project that may not be relative to the group. So it almost created a barrier until, for myself, I found ways, the individual and I found ways to break through. So, for example, Courtney, for this individual, it was best that we set up his calendar. So I went ahead and set up his calendar and my calendar. So, for example, Sam, if it was you that I'm discussing, you're going into a meeting, I'll have a pre-game with you on here's what we're going to cover. Here's a little bit of background information so that that person felt confident enough to share, which is very important. But we strategically and meticulously laid out that calendar to give him the opportunity to absorb the information and then have, again, 15 or 30 minutes with me afterwards so that I can hear what he felt he understood and help to continue further that conversation and further that development of his growth in that, in that area, in that meeting. So that was one way of helping someone to immerse during the pandemic. But, as other companies have, we have like different meetings where, it's coffee talk, or, it's a 30-minute like blackout, no talk about work at all, but, what have you been doing in your lives? How are your dogs? Once travel restrictions are open, what are you going to do? I mean, it's about being personable. It's about, again, soft skills, really wanting to, we're genuine. We truly care about what each other are doing and want to hear each other out. So developing a system for communication and I think developing trust through that helped develop confidence. Because again, for this person, kind of like what I'm doing today, I don't know everyone that's on this call, and kind of feel a little uneasy. And am I saying the right thing? Am I being judged? I'm sure all of it's yes. But again, it was the level of effort, I think, that this individual saw and felt that made him confident to be able to communicate and partake in the meeting and not just sit there and take notes. So Courtney, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Courtney. Yeah, I was going to say, William, as we've talked in preparation for our Connect today, I've really admired your prioritizing building trust with your team. And I know you talked a little bit about, the fact that you've been able to retain a lot of your team members, and, that has happened through your ability to build trust with folks, and I think this past year has been such a strange time, but going the extra mile and making sure that folks are up to speed and they feel connected, because it's not always easy to collaborate over Zoom or over some of these virtual, platforms. So I appreciate you sharing, some of your tips on how you've done that.
I mean, really, it's not really credited to me so much, but the company and our culture.
Okay.
I mean, truly, if you don't have an inclusive culture, we're extremely inclusive. We want to give everybody same opportunities. I was extremely well received. I mean, you did allude to, I am gay. I never felt like that was going to be a problem. I was widely accepted. The individuals that work for me, again, family environment. So we've developed that trust. Also too, I think when you have conflict with somebody, that can always, that in my experience, that has attributed to a more stronger relationship, because you've been able to know, okay, well, this is how passionate this person feels. We need to dig into that. That's what I want. It's hard to push somebody forward, but what I love about our organization, like I said, it's just so highly collaborative, and being able to express your ideas and being able to present them, whether they're really wacky and out there or safe. I mean, I'm like, push it as hard as you can, make us uncomfortable. One of my art directors said that when he first started, and it always stuck with me. He said, I'm going to make you really uncomfortable. And I thought about that, and I was like, that is fantastic.
Where growth is, right?
Yeah, I mean, his word uncomfortable, I use the word conflict, which some people attribute to something negative, and I see it as a positive.
Yeah.
Because if we weren't creating conflict, we wouldn't be creating interest. So once again, really, I think it's not, again, retainment, listening, active listening, having soft skills to make sure that, you're empathetic, and, you have to be genuine, I mean, if you're not genuine, I don't know how much of a good leader you would be, and you wouldn't retain.
Right.
But It's empathy. It's empathy, and I'm a blunt person. I'm transparent. You know, not blunt mean, but I'm not going to beat around the bush. You know, if there's an
Right.
opportunity, but I also expect that, Sam, from my team. You know,
Right.
don't sugarcoat it. Tell me what I can do, and I will tell you. Some of my associates have been able to, or team members have been able to call me and say, you know, I heard you say a certain word this way. You know, what if you rephrased it and said it this way? I was like, that's the best advice anybody's given me. You know, I think it's a challenge sometimes for our teams to be honest
Yeah.
with leaders, and we really promote that. I can't make someone comfortable with doing that, but I definitely have an open door policy that I continue to communicate, because I do want to help from within. I do want to make sure that someone knows what their career path is. I do want somebody to come to me and say, I am challenged with this right now. Can you help me? You know, it's really about opening yourself up as a leader, taking that extra time, you know, having a open mind and perspective. And that's really, I think, the success to why the Floor and Decor designers have remained at Floor and Decor.
Right. And you know, based on your story, it seems like you had the opportunity to develop a lot of these soft skills that have, you know, bolstered your leadership potential very early on. You know, when you shared your bio, the fact that, you know, you kind of started your career, you know, in the early 2000s, and then once the market kind of crashed, you were forced, you know, kind of out of design almost to kind of focus on other things just to make a living and to do that. But I was really inspired by, you know, the fact that you positioned that opportunity as an opportunity to really grow your soft skills. So can you talk a little bit about that and just share with folks, I think too, you know, other ways that you can develop those things to make yourself, you know, a better team member, better leader.
Sure. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a self-help nerd, so this book called Chatter, I read on Saturday, and it really talks about, and we've all have those voices in our head of doubt and, you know, things that we want to try to manage. And I think, you know, doing things like reading or activities, you know, maybe outreach. You know, I've done a lot of different types of outreach, but specifically to San Francisco in my early days of my career. Yes, it was, I was making money hand over fist. It was, you know, crazy in the Silicon Valley. You know, again, working with like Artisan Creative and TCG, you know, and placement. I mean, Amy was talking about how people are transferring from jobs fairly quickly. I wasn't even done with one project while I'm getting 2 or 3 offers for another. But as I think most of you may know or should know, the market got oversaturated, and literally on a Monday, things started to kind of wean down, and by Friday it was a ghost town. I was out of a job in like 4 days. Couldn't get a job. There were no design jobs. People cut advertising. Honestly, you know, one day you're sitting around, you're like, what happened to that person, Joe? Oh, he moved to New York. Oh, when did that happen? I mean, it was just
It's crazy.
depletion. So, you know, taking a nod from, you know, my childhood and who my heroes were, they were physically fit and, you know, able to just get through challenges. And I just thought, you know, another good challenge for me would be physical fitness, something I was passionate about. So that's truly, I think, where I learned a lot of soft skills.
Yeah.
And was able to harness them as I went through my career, because you have to be an active listener. You have to be, you know, able to empathize with the person who has a need. So of course, so when I started personal training, go into that, I had all different types of diverse clients, you know, from those who were a little overweight or that were very thin like myself who wanted to develop muscle. I had one of my favorite clients was deaf, and she and I could read lips, and she and I would have a great time communicating. I had a client that had polio, so he was, you know, on one side had a little bit of a disability. So you have to customize your language.
Mhm.
I customize, we customize our language for each team member that I'm working with or for the partner or peer that I'm working with. But I found that customizing your language, active listening, making sure that I repeat back what I heard, talking to them about what their goals were and how we could get there, but how we could get there kind of their way and my way. It was a
Yeah.
two-way street. For one example, I had a client that my first client, you're always as good as your first client. And the guy never talked to me, never said a word. His girlfriend put him up to it. I had him for about a month and he didn't say anything to me. And I was like, gosh, maybe I should pass him off to somebody else because he's not communicating to me. Well, I tried to do that and I saw a gray man cry and I was just like, oh my God, what happened? And he said, you're the best trainer I've ever had. And I just thought, I don't know that because you're not communicating with me. But what that at least told me is, okay, the active listening is working. Being empathetic is, really what I prefer. I kind of felt like finally I had my superpower because I love helping people, obviously, or I'd be in design either, and in retail. But I really, really took on their goals as my goals, help them to see and understand what they were doing. I can sit there and count reps.
Right.
Does that help you if I count? Because guess what? You can count, right?
Right.
So it was more about educating them on why we were doing this activity, how it was going to benefit them. And, it's hard enough to start a new challenge like physical fitness. You see no pain, no gain, doesn't have to be that way. But I think, we took things little by little, and then as their confidence started to grow, these people took off. And that was, I get goosebumps now, I'm just thinking about it. Seeing them see the reward of their hard work, it just made it all the better for me. So, another example, client who traveled a lot back and forth, tried to help him with his workouts at home and at the gym. The guy felt great. He bought new clothes, bought a new car, told me about it. And I was like, oh, that's a great car. For some reason, I thought I could see you in a convertible. Came back the next day and he's like, hey, come on in. I want to give you a ride. And I was like, all right. He took the car back and got a convertible. And I was like, okay, watch the power of my words, I guess.
Yeah.
But it was instilling confidence, instilling trust. It was patience. It didn't come overnight. Some clients trusted me wholeheartedly in the beginning. Some, it was a lot of steps. But I was able to take kind of that selflessness and, really really listen to the needs, listen to what may help somebody to excel, listen to something that someone's not confident about and be able to build them up. But again, I would attribute a lot of it to active listening, communication, collaboration, and just being present.
Right. And those are the soft skills that whether you're in design or any other, it's just like life skills that are good to have. Right.
Agreed. Definite life skills.
The last kind of bucket that I wanted to talk to you about was this idea of transcending labels. And we've touched on it a little bit already. And how you've talked about some of your employees, maybe they come in and do a certain role, but you're open to them exploring different things and using their skills in different ways. But we've also talked about this a lot in past webinars, this idea of not labeling oneself as, for example, a type designer, kind of keeping options open because there's more similarities across disciplines and not, as humans, it's natural to want to categorize things. But can you talk a little bit about labels and how we might give ourselves or them to others and how that's good or bad and how we can potentially transcend that?
Yeah, I think you don't want to pigeonhole yourself at all. Now, again, I'm mid-40s, and back in the day when I was in college, you were either a print designer and then web was just like coming up. So, as I was trying to get jobs, it was very isolated, and now it's opened up and it's more broad. And I think that's fantastic because there's so many tools out there now that you can access, or even seminars, or a weekend course if that's what you're looking for, to be able to transcend. But labels in general, good or bad, I think it depends on perspective. Obviously, again, I'm gay, so there's a label. Do I like that label? No. Why? Because I'm a human being. And gay is even a broad term, but going back to the stories that I used to read, the one label that was constant throughout all of the Marvel series I read was the word mutant. And mutant was somebody that either was born different, either by how they looked, or maybe some, extraordinary talents, that they had. But, they were either called freaks or extraordinary. So, from that perspective, with, the storytelling there, it was all about inclusivity. And so I think, for myself, I try to change my perspective. I look at the word, we talked about empathy. So empathy means either to other people kindness, or you're too sensitive, or you're weak because you're too empathetic. We look at confidence. I mean, being sure of yourself and helping others to be more confident could be a good thing, or somebody could see your confidence as being too cocky and a turnoff, depending on their perspective. One more is, authoritative. Well, you're a leader, so to some degree you have that authority, but either someone sees that as being persuasive or as being bossy. So when we look at labels, in my perspective and how I've grown up, I try to, I really do, I know it's cheesy and I'm probably going to get some eye rolls, but I really do try to look at the silver lining and what's positive out of that. And two, if I can't, I try to just put it aside and say, not my problem. I mean, I can't control what the audience thinks of me. I'm not trying to. I think, as we discussed, being your best self is, the best thing you can do. And with labels, why?
Right.
But again, I'm just excited to the point of what you've discussed, and seeing just this surge of people wanting to just expand and continue to expand. I mean, a lot of my team members learn everything off of YouTube. I'm kind of that kind of learner, but I like, more personal interaction. But anyway, if you don't have to label yourself, I'd say don't. And if you're, I'd say if you're concerned with labels, or if there's something that I guess hurts you with a label, then just realize that, look at it deep within yourself, and try to find some solace in changing your perspective.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like I have attended so many trainings and things like that where they talk a lot about, defining your personal brand, and what are your tenets, and what are your, values and whatnot. And for me, that has been a helpful exercise to kind of be able to focus in on, like, here's what I uniquely bring to the table. Here's what matters to me. And then it helps me to deflect, maybe criticism or negative feedback that comes in, or labels that I don't necessarily agree with. And I know we've talked a little bit about that. So I don't know if you have anything else to say about, like, developing your own personal brand and how that can either be helpful or not.
Yeah, I think you have to allow for evolution for your brand. I think that's the most important aspect for me was, again, I don't have all the answers. I don't pretend to. I enjoy learning. I don't want to be right. I want somebody to say, no, you're wrong. Look at this thing. This is better. And I want to be like, yes. But, there is strength in your brand, good and bad. And I think, again, if you're an active listener, if you are confident, and if you are doing the best that you can do, I think that's the halo effect to your brand, because it's all about integrity, I think. But if you're too rigid in, I think, your outlook, or if you're too rigid on, which can be a good thing. I only want to do this. That's fine.
Right, right,
That's fine.
right.
I have team members that just want to do this. And guess what? That's what I call an individual contributor. They're extremely valuable, just as the rest of my team are valuable. But I think that, think about your favorite brand. What draws you to that? And think about how you can emulate that yourself. For me, I think my brand would be, that of, an energetic creative who, just really wants to, I want to do everything. I also want to save the world, but, we'll see how I'll take that a day at a time. But I truly think that your brand is going to continue to evolve, and if you allow for that, then you're going to see success.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and that's awesome. A great perspective. Thank you for sharing. And I know, we're kind of coming to the end of our hour, which is crazy. It's flown by. Lucas, do we have any questions from the chat or the Q&A that you can share?
Yeah, we got a few coming in. Let's see. One that I think was a smart one that fits in really well was, have you found, right now, George Stone asks, have you found during increased virtual meetings, it actually increased your staff to better communicate, or do you think vice versa?
So George, great question. And I actually think it opened up collaboration. And what I mean by that is, I think teams that we work with, all the teams are highly collaborative. But I think sometimes too, it's easy to get stuck in a silo. And what we've looked at is this has kind of broken that. And we've been more inclusive, because what's great about this is Sam and I are talking, we're kind of with these ideas, and we're like, you know what? Let's get Lucas involved. On Teams, get Lucas involved. I mean, it has been so amazing for us, because I've been able to design with my team if they want me to. An easier way to say, hey, can you look at this real quick instead of waiting for a formal review? Being able to bring in, which most importantly, we love to educate, because design's ethereal. It's like IT. People are like, what happens behind the green curtain? It's like it's a mystery. So bringing our partners along, or the project requester, to say, hey, we want to show you with what you've given us, here's some solutions, but also have we thought about XYZ, because there's money usually tied to it, time, resources. So this has been a great way, not only for the creative team to collaborate, but to our whole marketing partners. I get to work with the buyers or merchants, excuse me. I get to work with our executives. I get to work with the store, the store leaders and store associates. It's been a crazy year, but this for me has been amazing. And I feel like we're going to continue to use it, regardless, with COVID, and when we eventually go back to work and whatnot. This definitely is going to be a tool that I think we're going to continue to use.
I completely agree. Right now, our webinar series is a great example too. We can bring more people together, and we don't have to leave our homes. It really does, I think, open up that door for communication in a new way.
And too, Lucas, you can share. So, of course, you guys see I'm very expressive and all that, but, when I'm able to say, you know what, let me show you the examples I've been looking at, and, or someone I'm working with is saying, that's a great idea. Hold on, let me pull these things together. And instead of a project taking a week, it took 2 days. Can I do that with everything? No, we still need structure, but same one earlier when we talked about pivoting and things that we can do to respond quicker and get to the market quicker. This has been a huge success.
Awesome. We got a few more questions in here in our short time. Amelia Hollis asked, what are some things you think designers should look for companies who don't want to stick to one type of design? Basically, what should they look out for?
What should they look at? So, sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, what do you think designers should look for at companies who don't want to stick to one type of design? So you offer, I think you've explained it to some degree already. You offer ways and avenues for people, right?
So Amelia, how I would answer that is, typically during an interview process, again, I'm very, very transparent with individuals. And I think those are the questions you should ask. You know, what does growth look like for your company? You know, do you have a performance plan for associates here so that they can kind of give a trajectory of where they see themselves in 5 years? I know it's cliche, but these documents help. Amelia, just be straightforward. I mean, again, I think honesty is the best policy. And, you know, if Amelia, you were interviewing with me and you said, you know, I've got all these interests, you know, I've been working as a print designer for the last 6 years, but I mean, I would really, really like to talk to you about how it could advance into web design. I'm thinking, this is great, because I've got a talented designer who also has an interest in something else, which tells me that they're vested. They're vested in themselves, and they're vested in their career and where they're going. I mean, Floor & Decor is a great company. It's not my job. It is my career. And I think that is the most important view I think us should have. I mean, jobs are great. You have a job that eventually leads to a career, but if you're looking for a career, you need to be very pointed with your questions, and I would be very direct. That would be my advice. Does that help, Amelia?
That was great advice. Thank you.
All right, I got a fun one to ask you. Meg asked, what is your favorite home design trends?
What is my favorite home design trends?
Yeah, or what are they? Yep.
Well, I would have to say, if you could see behind me, which you kind of can't. Let's see. I've had a range of different styles. My personal interior style, as of late, would be considered, I think they call it Scandinavian, which is like Scandinavian and California aesthetic. You know, my house is white with brick textures. If you can see here, that's wood on the ceiling that we placed on the ceiling. But it was all about texture. I've got, you know, large cement looking tile. I've got brick, clean lines, open space. But I get so interested in all the trends. I mean, I am an Instagram nerd, you guys. I do know how to use Instagram. And so that's my favorite resource for inspiration. And I mean, you know, I'm seeing, you know, just the color trends that are coming in for 2021 for homes is fantastic. You know, definitely seeing what's on the downtrend, but I think, yeah, the Scandinavian style is one of my favorites.
Everyone loves it in the chat.
Great. Well, William, thank you so much for a great lunch hour.
Ask me my one question.
Oh, what's your favorite Marvel character? Oh, he was ready for it. Wolverine.
Quick story, you guys. So Wolverine is my hero. He's 5'3", even though in the movies he's taller. I could relate with that. I'm not 5'3", but I'm 5'7". But cool story, my younger brother is 16 years younger than me, and I convinced my parents to name my younger brother Logan, and did not tell them where it derived from until after the papers were signed. So my younger brother has, you know, he loves his story about where, you know, he originated from. And I am that comic nerd, you guys, honestly, like the big comic nerd right
That's so awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Everybody, thank you for joining us today. And if you want an opportunity to chat with William more one-on-one, look for our Connect series in June. And make sure to mark your calendar for next month. May 5th is our next webinar with Evelyn Overall. She'll be here from Pandora, so we're really looking forward to hosting her. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, everybody. I appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Everyone, thank you.